Today we're going to be talking about one of my favourite things, the business model canvas. Yes! It's a great tool to use to look at the front side and the back side of your business and think about your costs, your partners, your activities, how you communicate with your customers, etc. So we're going to do something a bit different today. I have got one here and I'm going to go next door into my dining room and I'm going to fill it out in front of you with a rough idea of my business so that you can see how it works in practice. Little spoiler alert, I do write upside down. People think it's super weird, and it is, but actually for this purpose it's bloody great, isn't it? Because I can just write and you can still read it, hopefully. Anyway, let's see. So let's go. So business model canvas, here we go. So this grid is actually broken into sort of back end and front end, okay? So your value propositions, customer relationships, channels, customer segments, and revenue is all the front end of your business. And then your key activities, resources, cost structure, and partners are all on the back end. So these are things that people don't see. Okay. So what you start off, I'd always do a little wiggly line actually to separate them so you can remember it. What you start off with is your value propositions, okay? So value propositions for me would be that I run workshops, that I do one-to-one personal branding sessions, I speak at things, so I'm a speaker / MC, and I like to do video projects. So let's just think about those at the moment. Obviously you could add whatever you like, and obviously people's offering does change, so you can adapt this as many times as you like. So if I think about these things, I think about who I'm targeting. So that we move into the customer segment. Oh, by the way, I am writing upside down because I'm a weirdo, just FYI. So customer segments. So for my workshops, it's going to be SME market. So I'm helping people to develop their business. One-to-one personal branding sessions. So again, it's a mix of people. So it's SMEs, but it's also sort of maybe professional women as well who are working in the business and want to escalate their brand internally so that she can get more job opportunities. So that's another market for me. For speaking, it's actually slightly different. So it's slightly larger. So sort of middle, maybe large, and it's also sort of corporate events, sporting events, those sorts of things. So I know that I need to speak to like Chris Reese, for example. And then finally, video actually is everyone. So it's a bit tricky for me because it's currently SME, sort of talking heads, little videos of people, but it's also, I also do large corporate stuff as well. So I've got a couple of different clients that I travel away and do some video with as well. So it's great. So you break it down. So you think about value proposition, so what you offer, and then essentially who you're offering it to. So it's useful to be really clear in this section about your customer segment. And this is where something James Welsh told me about called category of one. So it's where you really think about each of your clients and how you target them. This is very quick, but there you go. Then you think about the relationships you're going to have with them. So you move into the customer relationship part. And for me, I have a very personal relationship with my clients. So I'll put personal, and I'll put phone calls, and I'll put sort of one-to-one, Zoom, Skype, etc. The sort of relationships I have, recently I turned a year old in business and I sent everybody a birthday card to thank them for working with me. So I have very personal, quite in-depth conversations and energetic meetings as well. So this is about how you nurture your relationships so you keep your clients basically. Then you move into channels, and channels is how you communicate with people. So obviously website, social channels. For me, I obviously have colleagues getting coffee that I do, which I love, and I also have Ask Annalise. But channels also might be other things as well. So you might write letters, you might do leaflet drops, whatever. Basically how you communicate with people to keep them invested in your journey. And then you finish this section with revenue streams. So you think about how you make your money. So for me, obviously one-to-one is sort of ad hoc, hourly based. But I have retainer agreements with people as well. So this is the sort of bread and butter money. So retainer agreements, you might have day rates, you might package your costs. So for example, I do a little social media Bible thing that people can buy, and I just go through hashtags and stuff like that. So that's a packaged cost. So it's quite nice. You don't have to be so choppy. It's not like hour by hour by hour. You just say, right, this is the cost and that's that. So thinking about your revenue, and for this you can get quite specific with the hourly rate you charge, the day rate you charge, etc. So that's the front end, whistle stop tour, right? The back end then. So we think about key activities. So what do we actually need to do regularly to make this successful? So key activities for me would be filming. So I do Colleagues Getting Coffee episodes, and I do Ask Annalise, which is good for my exposure. But also I might do filming just to practice my wares as well, so that when I'm doing stuff for clients, I know what I'm doing. So it could be training for me as well. Other key activities, speaking, for example, would be prepping, making sure that I've got the documentation I need, I've got the layout of the events, all that sort of stuff. I know exactly who I'm talking to, so I've researched. So it's basically all the things that make you actually able to deliver all of this stuff. So what key activities do you do? So for example, if you're a counsellor, you might have to do regular CPD to keep your counselling accreditation. So think about the key activities, things you have to do. Now resources is the things you have, okay? So you might have office space, you might have staff, whatever those things are. For me, it's things like Buffer, because that's my scheduling tool that I use. Obviously my Calendly I use, which is super useful. I have a couple of different partners, so I have subcontractors that I work with as well, who help me and do bits and bobs for me, some social, some, they don't do any video for me, I don't know what else they do really. So Tim would be a big resource for me. As you know, Tim is my lovely tech, hearts for Tim. Any resources you have, but it could be like laptops, Macs, printers, anything that costs you money to run your business. Okay, so like hosting, your website, all that sort of stuff. So this is your costs, the things that you're actually paying for, buying for. So it could be your car, etc. Okay. Finally, you have your partners here. So these are those key people. For me, it's slightly tricky because I don't have partnerships as such. I have subcontract agreements with people. But partners might be those people I want to work with who advocate for me, refer me, etc. So for me personally, I would write some of my clients down here, but I'd also write some of those advocates that I have who really help and refer work to me quite often, and we sort of do a bit of an exchange with that, which is really nice. So here, just write down all those key partners. So for example, I met David McCaskill recently. He works with the forces, he does a lot of printing and stuff for them. So his partners would probably be strategic in terms of the different military people he's working with. Okay, finally, cost structure. So you think about what all these things cost you, and you work out, so your laptop, your office space, your accounts that you have, so maybe your accounting software or your scheduling tools or whatever it is, and you figure out your hosting, all this stuff, how much you pay your subcontractors, all that stuff, and you figure out what that costs you. And when you work out what money you're going to get in here, in your revenue, you can see if your business is actually going to be any good. So that's a very whistle-stop tour, but this is how I've used this previously. I think it's great, and it's something movable, and it's a nice way to, if you're going to start changing your offer. So obviously speaking for me is a new thing here, but it's something that I love. It makes me think, okay, I need to target different clients here, and then obviously my cost is different because I might be getting a day rate rather than retainers. But then what resources do I need? Do I need anything? Maybe Tim to come film me or edit or, photograph me. And then I think about the activities. So how much time do I actually need to prep it and research it? Are there any partners? Do the people who use me end up being partners because they could pass on other speaking work to me? And then, what does it actually cost me to get there, do it, blah, blah, blah. That is the business model canvas. Isn't it great? So like I said, I'm not an expert in it. I've just used it, and it is an editable document. So you should update it as frequently as you like, edit, amend. If you're looking at new revenue streams, potentially it's a good way to test it and see if it actually works before you actually spend money on it. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions about it, then drop me a line. Thanks.